The third of Rhino's modeling aids is called planar. It's important to remember that all geometry is created on the construction plane unless you are snapping to another entity using the O-snaps. So what happens if you need to draw off the construction plane and there is nothing to snap to? Well, that's when you use the planar mode. Take a look where it's located on the interface. Down here at the bottom, it's a toggle. You can turn it off and on just by clicking repeatedly. We're going to leave it off just for this very first demo. I'm going to zoom in here on the top viewport. We can see kind of what happens in perspective as I draw. So I'm going to draw a little freeform curve. Now I snap to this object. I got several point modes there. And as long as I'm out in space, it looks like it should be drawing at the same level. But without planar, you can see it goes to the default location of the construction plane. It's not what we want. Let's turn that off, and I'm going to actually hit delete. We're going to turn on planar mode and try that same curve one more time. Another freeform. Snap to that point. Now, as long as I don't hit another object O-snap near it, it should maintain the same level. Let's take a look in the perspective viewport. So there, it actually worked perfectly. Let's look at a situation where it will start snapping and pulling off the planar mode and how to fix that. So I'm going to delete that last curve and do the same thing a couple more times here. Snap to this point. Planar's on, so it should stay at the same level. But now we have a situation where other objects are attracting it and it's snapping to them. All right, so we've got a curve that is all curvy, snapping to different points, sometimes the construction plane. However, before I delete this one, I'm going to show you a little fix. Sometimes you've done a lot of work and you don't want to delete the whole thing and start over. So I'm going to turn on the control points for this. It looks like we have these two on the wrong level. I don't see any more. Okay, so the command I'm going to show you is under transform. It's called set XYZ coordinates. When this pops up, this is the situation you'll never use, because if I agree to having X, Y, and Z all match, then they all collapse down into a single point. So obviously you never want that. Instead, we're going to just think about this. We don't want to match any X or Y. We want to have it on the same Z level. Hit OK. Now it's waiting for another point for us to locate. So now that is brought up to the same level of where we were. This is very similar to project the construction plane, except it's at the level you want, not all the way down or wherever the construction plane happens to be. I'm going to turn these control points off with F11 and delete this curve. We're going to try one more wrinkle on the planar mode. This time we're going to turn on project. So we can utilize the ability to O-snap to other objects that are important, but we stay on the same level. We kind of just reference them either up or down, but never leave the same altitude. Double-click the perspective viewport to maximize. Do that same curve again. So I've got the point snap on. Let's actually be careful. You don't want to turn this on before the first point because it'll start projecting to the construction plane by default. So let's keep that off. Start the curve. Now turn project on. And so it'll be maintained with the planar O-snap. It'll maintain the same level. And with project, you can still use O-snaps, but not go up or down. So I'm just referencing these points. So that stayed in the same level, almost as if we had a construction plane up in the air without having to move it. So the planar snap is very handy in situations where you need to draw elements off the construction plane, but it's definitely the least used of all four modeling aids. More often, you might find it easier to draw or build geometry directly on the construction plane, where you have more control and you can use the grid. Then move your finished geometry later to its final location. Optionally, if you're doing extensive work in a different location, you could then move the construction plane to the level it's needed and avoid using planar altogether.